Chookas!
That was great.
Hello, hello everybody. This is James.
And this is Neil.
And we have the wonderful Jordan Shea with us.
Well, hold your applause.
There's no applause, but we had a pause button here. Where is it?
They're here. Oh, you can't hear it.
You can't hear it.
But
I can hear it in my head, man.
Just
Like,
trust that there was an applause.
That's the first time we've used the button, so...
Yeah, we don't use those buttons.
Yeah, man. No.
Welcome. Jordan is a playwright.
Yeah.
And coming up very soon at KXT, he's got 1 hour no oil. And you may have seen his previous production earlier this year at Old Fitz Arte La Via.
Yes. Yeah. Did you remember that? Did you write that down?
No, I just am aware of it.
It's very
Dude, that's incredible.
He's done a lot of play watching last
it's good.
6 months.
It's good.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
But wonderful to have you on the show,
Thanks
particularly because you've been one of my mentors this year for a playwriting program.
Yeah, and I'm young. You know, when you say when you say mentor, like I don't like have a robe. Or like, I'm like James.
You do have a house.
Yeah.
You don't live in the back of the theater.
Yeah, just live in the back of the theater.
You don't have a bed there.
It's just I have been. Yeah, that's right. I tutored you for the Playwrights at Parramatta program.
Yeah.
Which I love doing the facilitation stuff, man. Like I love teaching.
Great.
Teaching's my jam.
Yeah, it's been really great.
Thanks, man.
So while I've been in these Zoom meetings with you and whatnot, you know, a lot of questions arise in my mind. Stuff like your background is Filipino.
Yeah, that's right. Filipino Australian.
Filipino Australian, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, because I spent my formative years in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And I want to know, like, were you born there and then you came over, or were you born here, or what's your story?
Oh, okay. So my mum came out here 1974, was training as a nurse, and met my dad in 1978. So they've been together for like 44 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's true love. And yeah, I guess I was born, you know, considerably later. I went back for the first time in 2017.
Oh, okay.
So prior to that, I actually had no real connection to the Philippines whatsoever. I grew up in a very, very white neighborhood, a famously white neighborhood,
Which is?
the Shire, the Southern Shire. And I didn't.
That's
meet,
white.
Yeah,
That's real white.
yeah. Like, and I didn't meet a Filipino person that I wasn't related to until I was 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the only Philo kids I knew were the ones that I was related to. So I went to a big school in the city, and the school in the city took heaps of kids from the western suburbs and everything. So that's how I met heaps of my friends there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't have a white friend until I was in university.
You didn't, so you had the opposite.
I had the opposite.
Yeah.
It's really odd.
It is odd, isn't it?
It is really odd.
But
very
you
odd.
kind of gel with your own crowd, right? You seek.
Well, it's odd because that time when a lot of immigrants came through in,
Yes.
in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
I guess, and they were more they're more professional coming through at that time during Paul Keating era.
Yeah.
Just before.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
yeah.
it's all like, I mean, I don't think you'll ever see that size of Asian migration again. Like, that's just so many people.
And you're right. And it sort of migrate towards people who like understand the same thing. Like, a lot of us came to this country thinking like, we're going to be Australians, and you know.
And what is that?
And what is that?
What is it?
We didn't know. Like mum and dad, like you got to be, we'll do Australian things. Like my dad put me in a tennis program and like wanted me to play tennis. And
but even that has like British roots, right?
British roots.
And it's kind of strange because you know, with the whole Asian and Australian thing, I don't know how we ended up in the Sutherland Shire. I actually don't know. All the fellows were in like Blacktown, Western Sydney, Auburn, Lidcombe, all that. I don't know why or how we ended up in the Sutherland Shire, but we did. And yeah.
How did you feel like I guess how did you feel the contrast when you got older?
Well, it was interesting, right? Because there weren't generally, like, I think Australia categorises Asian as Chinese. I think they're like, Asian. Just because if you look at the top 3 Asian diasporas or the Asian populations in Australia, it goes Chinese, Indian, Filipino. Chinese, like 3 times the amount of Indian people. So there's more Chinese people here than there are Indian people or Filipino people. So there's more. So people just think, oh yeah, Asian, Chinese.
Yeah, but Chinese have been here since
The gold rush. And so they have an amazing history here.
Yeah,
you know, which I think is really important to note. It's a longer history. But yeah.
So,
go.
yeah. Well, that's why for me the key question was, how does your experience inform your plays?
Well, it's interesting. Like everyone would say, oh, because my surname is Shea. So Jordan Shea. I think he's like some Irish guy. Like, you know,
Jordan O'Shea.
Yeah, legit. So I guess
even Ice Cube's last name Shea.
His
first name Shea.
Yeah, his first. Yes, yeah. But he like I guess by category I'm half Asian. But my big thing is like, man, you don't do things by halves. You just are. you just are, man. Like I don't like. I'm not like, what is one half of me, Philo? Like, you know, I don't get it. I guess, you know, if you're going by DNA and stuff, sure. I had my DNA done, right?
Oh, really?
And it was like 51% Asian, 49% Caucasian, I think.
Wow.
Which was cool. But yeah, I think it informs my work because my work, I always try and learn something about the culture that I wasn't brought up in. So like, I didn't really understand the idea of sending money home, right? And so when I talk to people, when I talk to my mum about it, I incorporate that into my plays to highlight it's a really important thing that we do. Or, you know, being a disenfranchised person, right? So having a degree from somewhere and then coming to Australia and due to the institutions not recognising it, you have to start again. So I kind of use my background to inform myself and to educate myself. I think culture is like an ever-learning, like consistently learning process. No one can tell you, oh, you're not Philo enough or you're not Asian enough or how can you not know that? It's like, man, come on. We're all complicated, right? I think that anyway.
But that's interesting. I mean, like you say that, but going back to because my experience was, I went to the Philippines. I was the Australian guy.
Yeah.
And then when I come back to Australia, none of the culture resonated with me, and I got called the Asian guy.
But we don't have a culture in Australia. we don't have like, we just don't. Like,
I used to, last time I spoke, we had Damien on a few weeks ago, and I said that my dad used to say that Australians don't have culture, you know? And I'm like, well, that's probably true. Probably true.
Well, I think,
but I feel like I want Australia to have some sort of culture, but I think it's really the start from the beginning, like acceptance and stuff, and then like finding it and detaching ourselves from other countries, you know, and we always like piggybacked on UK and piggybacked on the US and stuff, and a lot of our pop culture stuff.
Totally.
And everything is like from there. Storytelling is from there, and you know, and we only recently started accepting Indigenous community as well, and
that's
like,
really the first step.
That's really the first step.
That is the first step, because I know people say, "Oh, we're a young country." We are a young country from a colonial perspective, but we're an ancient country in terms of Indigenous perspectives. And I do think that, like, I always see this place, man, as having amazing potential. I see Australia, and I actually think we do have it now. I think we have amazing potential to get it right and craft our own culture, but it does start, you're right, Neil, with accepting our own history. Because we're a colony, right? We're a declared colony. That's like, you can't argue that. You know,
We did talk about education and teaching where it starts from there, right? And
totally.
And we're thinking, how can it start? Like, because in the Indigenous community, the many languages and many tribes, and many. So like, how does one go about doing that, right? And I was thinking, and I was talking, I said maybe like in your area, you should at least know something about the Indigenous in school wise, in primary school and preschool and so whatever, in high school, knowing about what's happening in that area. At least, you know, so like if you'd go to like Brisbane, and there's a different community, you can cross culture chat about that, you know. But like, I mean, it could start off like that, you know. But as far as I'm concerned, it starts from the basic, which is accepting them and being proud of. Like, I don't think people are proud.
Not really.
I don't think people are, and people are gonna go, "Oh, Neil, that's rubbish." Like, no, I don't think we are. If that was the case, we would know at least the minimum basic things about the community, which we don't. And if, like, for example, if you have friends over or from another country, we would take them and teach them about the community. But we take them where? We take them to the zoo, the opera house.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point, right? Because I think that the understanding should be more aware, like it should be more public.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and as a school teacher, a number of schools I've worked in have an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander person to help the kids and assist the kids that identify as being ATSI or that sort of thing. And I think it's really important, but it's not all the same. I think people think, oh, all the tribes are kind of the same, when we're broken up into so many different unique tribes and countries. And that's pretty important, I think. Yeah.
And then that way. And actually, let's go back to the acceptance of you as being a Filipino Australian.
Yeah.
And what James said before, I felt exactly the same, but a little bit different, right? So I came here when I was five
from
India.
From India, yeah.
Right. And then I obviously grew up here, and then when I went back a few times to India, they knew that I wasn't from India. And here's the thing: in India, everyone's moved on; they've evolved. And in me as an Indian, I haven't evolved as an Indian, so I've stayed that guy who came in '92.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And then I come back here and I get told that no, you're not Australian. You're whatever. I'm like, fuck, what am I?
Yeah.
There's a constant fight and finding who I am. And
well, Australia's really unique in that regard, right? Like our immigration history. If you look at like America, for example, Philos have been going to America since the 1890s.
Wow.
Like I'm pretty sure even earlier. That claim might be wrong, but Filipino people have been to California to farm since the 1800s, right? So like equivalent to gold rush in Australia, right? So we are very young in that regard. And so I think that Australia as a collective identity doesn't really know what to do with itself. That's I know that's quite a deep thing to say.
No, that's great.
But I don't know if it, because I see it, man. Like I believe Indigenous people should be at the forefront of a lot of discussions, but I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get how we can drop the ball that many times. Like I get a bit like, wow, are we not learning anything?
Yeah.
Nah, that's just me.
It was so scary when they're like asking for a voice.
Yes.
You know, and you've got these kind of liberal senators like, yeah, but what is the mechanics of that? Like, what actually power will they have? It's like, dude, let them have a fucking voice.
Yeah, well, it's symbolism.
Yeah.
It's entirely symbolic, and they are from a tradition, and I'm not speaking for them. Yeah. They are from a tradition that is symbolic. It's about symbolism. And so when you think about it, things like the monarchy is symbolic.
Yeah.
So, you know, we acknowledge that. But you know, it's important we need to recognize that. And we have the chance. You know, I'm very optimistic that we can get it right. You know, we're all young. Like we want, you know, we want to live in that time.
Yeah.
But there's like in terms of art point of view and our creative point of view,
yes,
is that they've given them, hey man, I'm saying they have given them, that sentence is creepy.
You mean like, they've given us?
No, like meaning who they is. Yeah, the Australian arts government, federal government, have given them Bangara, which is supposed to be a Indigenous
dance company.
Yes. But I'm not sure about that. I'm saying, is that really their story?
Well, it's interesting because, and once again, I'm no expert on Indigenous storytelling, right? Like,
well, I mean, that's why we've got you on.
Yeah. I'm a settler, right? I'm a descendant of settlers, and I think there is an amazing influx of Aboriginal playwrights and writers. And Dylan Vandenberg is one. He wrote Whitefella Yellow Tree at Griffin. Amy Soul is another. They're the executive, one of the artistic producers over at Ibidgery. They're an amazing writer and director. Nakia Louie, Maine Wyatt, heaps of them. Heaps of them. I haven't named everyone, but Thomas Weatherall, who's got a show on at Belvoir next year. I mean, these are very, very much people at the forefront. But it's not that. I mean, Jack Charles, who we lost a couple of weeks ago, was an incredible incredible performer. Bob Mazza was a playwright maybe about 40, 50 years ago. But when I was at VCA, that was the training that I got, was learning about the black theatre movement in this country, the Aboriginal theatre movement in this country. And that kind of made me more aware, you know? I think it's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about your upcoming production, 1 Hour No Oil.
Yeah.
Well, that also touches on it's a two-hander.
Yeah.
And one of the characters is Filipino.
Yeah, he's like a disenfranchised Filipino. So 1 Hour No Oil is about the relationship and friendship between a really, really Australian coal miner and a Filipino masseuse who's male. And through a series of massage appointments, because the coal miner comes in, his body is ruined. And through a series of massage appointments, they become friends.
This is great.
They have a relationship. They have like a serious friendship. But it's also about how we depend on each other, you know, and how we as men depend on each other. We've been writing this, Ken and I, my artistic collaborator Ken and I have been writing this for like 3 or 4 years, because it was meant to go on at Belvoir in 2020 and then it got postponed, and now we're finally doing it. And it's great. You guys want to come to opening?
Yeah.
I'll bring you guys to opening. Yeah. Not all of you listening, just these. But it's I love it. It's like a movement piece. It's very much about disenfranchisement. So the character is a teacher who is really working hard. We all know, like, you know, our migrant parents work so hard to juggle, and that's what this character personifies. Is about the juggle. So I'm having a ball with it. You know, I'm having great fun.
And can you talk a bit more about working with Ken?
Yeah, well, Kenneth Moraleda is a Filipino kind of creative polymath. Like, he does everything. Been in the industry for 25 years. Acting, directing, writing, creative producing, facilitating, all of it. Just about to be in a new TV show on ABC, so he's always doing something. I met him when we did a development at Sydney Theatre Company of one of my first plays, and we just hit it off. He kept me accountable. He still keeps me accountable for a number of things. I keep him accountable. And it's just kind of like this cool, even though he's older, there is a significant like kind of understanding of intergenerational, like we vibe off each other. He's a mentor, yeah, and like we formed this production company, Quento. It's been a very tough year, but it's been very rewarding. Like extremely rewarding. So that's I think I'm lucky in that regard to have someone like him around, because I think that he cares deeply about the stories that I'm trying to put out there, and I think he just wants to make them better and more presentable, you know, because what we do, like between the two of us, right, is we want to try and see that community and industry can come together and enjoy a piece of theatre. That's what I think is really important. That's what we did with the marriage agency, I think. Yeah. You know?
And do you mind if I go into marriage agency for a minute?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because we just finished doing that. Just talked about marriage agency. So that just finished up on the weekend.
Yeah, the marriage,
Just quickly tell us about the
marriage agency was a play by Saman Shad, who's a Pakistani Indian writer from around here, actually. And Ken and her had developed the play at Darlinghurst Theatre Company, and then the opportunity arose for us to take it on. It's obviously a Asian kind of story that neither of us have any cultural connection to, so we were very much focused on bringing in authentic Indian theatre practitioners to come on board, and we did, and it took off. It went really well. I think we were really happy with it. Yeah.
And what was your role in that production?
I produced. So, and producing is a very demanding job, you know, but I just produced and supervised bump in and administration, but Ken does the large bulk of the work as well. So,
Can I just say, like, on air, like openly, like when I watched that show and what you were talking about before about parents and intergenerational things, this one resonated with me a lot. And because I guess I'm a first generation because or my kids will be first generation.
Your kids will be first generation,
okay,
I think. Yeah.
So like, I think it's talking to me in a way as well, because my parents thought that way for a very, very long time, and they sort of do. But I'm very lucky. My parents are quite a bit more liberal.
Good.
But there's many things in that play that a lot of people need to understand and watch. And I saw a lot of non-subcontinent people in the audience, and they were they're loving it. But then there was little nuances in the actual jokes or whatever there was, and there's only four of us laughing because we understood it.
How good is that feeling, though?
It's great feeling.
It was
when
great
it's
feeling. Just a joke that you get.
Yeah.
Now, we had the Arte La Via at the Fitz with all Philos, right? Massive Philo audience. Because if you put like Tagalog, Filipino in the title of your play, that's what I found. They just come.
They just come, yeah.
They don't care if it's like they don't care if it's like some weird show. They're just like, yeah. And they would just like laugh, and they would like laugh at all the Philo stuff. And then like all the white people like just,
do you know
something like?
Do you know what the funny thing is that during that play, there's a few like musical sequences.
Great.
I almost started singing because usually a lot of us were like, oh, it's
disco numbers.
Yeah. We almost started singing whatever. And
it's good
because it sort of it awakes our DNA a little bit, you know.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and
that's great. I love that. It awakens your DNA.
Yeah, like, this is I say this all the time. I said this that I got it from a well-known poet in India. His name is Javadakta.
Okay,
right. And he said this. He said that you can try like Italian food or Chinese food or whatever food, intercontinental food, whatever. But when you have your home food,
it's different.
Something awakens. Like when I hear drums, like the dole, or something awakens in our heart that we
totally,
and that's the same thing. Like that's what we're trying to do with like when you guys put that play up. It resonated.
Did you love the butter chicken jokes?
Yeah, it was great.
The child's food.
That is true.
Yeah. Totally.
You know how many times I have to explain that to people?
Yeah. Like, but it's interesting because I guess being Philo, you understand spice, right?
Yeah.
Like butter chicken is pretty like tame.
Yeah. But in India, butter chicken isn't sweet; it's actually spicy.
So it got ruined when it came here.
It's all the cream. But
all the cream. Yeah. Right.
But the Philo audience is amazing. Like,
dude, we're lucky. We're lucky. Because the Filipino audience, I love that it's intergenerational. I love that. I love that, like, you got the young Philo audience who are like 19, living in share houses in the inner west, and they bring their parents who are in Western Sydney, in Marylands or whatever, and they all come to, it's great. I love that stuff, man.
Do you think that? Do you think 1 Hour No Oil is going to have that same impact?
Probably not.
Why not?
Because no.
Why not?
Yeah, no, but you're right. We talked about this, right? Because it's not really about family or culture. There are a lot of references to culture, but it's more about masculinity, and it's more about dealing with mental health from a cultural perspective. Mm-hmm. Having said that, we're on SBS Filipino like this week, so probably, and man, like it's pretty straightforward. You put like a brown or Asian face on a poster, they'll come because they'll be like, oh, okay, cool, it's not Shakespeare. I don't know, like it's just like we can just be at ease and see a Tav on stage or Caroline on stage, or like any of those people, it's great.
I actually almost work with Caroline.
Right. Yeah. And what's great is like that cast all have a different connection to their Indian culture. Mm-hmm. And I love people that have different connections to their culture because you can learn off people. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think you want? Who do you want as your audience for 1 Hour No Oil?
Someone with a lot of money, so we can do it again. I think I would hopefully like different cultures of men to come, and see it. Yeah, and maybe people that want to learn more about mental health, and maybe people that want to learn more about, how different cultures deal with mental health. Yeah, a bit of a specific audience, but I think people that just, I always say 1 Hour No Oil is Australia's relationship with Asia through massage. Because we all have a preconception about massage.
Yes.
In this country, like, oh, it's, whatever, gross. There's a sex fuel thing around it. Like, But this is actually about healing. And that's what we're also doing. We're also looking at the healing of it.
That when you were talking about that, the massage being the what was the term? But like it's the it's where everyone meets in the characters meet. Right? It's where things happen. It's a camping site where that's where relationships develop.
Yeah,
and that reminded me of how we spoke before the interview. We were talking about Irfan Khan. He did Lunchbox.
Yes.
And it's the same thing, the friendship that develops just through sending food to each other.
Yeah.
And this amazing friendship
That's
happens.
the dialogue. That's the dialogue. It's food.
Dialogue.
Yeah, that's right. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's weird, like speaking about massage, I was in Melbourne recently and a friend of mine, she's a musical theatre singer, she was talking about getting her voice massaged.
Wow.
And I thought, and the way she described it was like chilling. And I was like, wow. So I guess everyone has a different conception,
But there's something very dangerous about it. I mean, like
dude, when I was in Cambodia 4 weeks ago with a friend of mine, I was getting massaged by this massive guy and I was like, he could kill me.
Wow.
Yeah.
When I was in Thailand.
Yeah.
And we went to a nightclub, and I went to the bathroom, and I had quite a few in me. But I went into the bathroom, and this big guy walked behind me, and I was way past my time to be there.
Yeah.
And he came behind me. Oh, what he's going to do? And I was too drunk to do anything. And then he started massaging my shoulder. And well, this is great. This is great. And then he went to my neck to grab it. To crack it. I'm like, no, don't do it. Because and I was too drunk to stop it as well. Yeah. And he goes, crack. Oh, I felt good.
Yeah. But you were saying, you were saying, James, about the danger.
Because you have to be vulnerable. Like
that's what this play's about.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant kind of idea.
And it's not for everyone. Massage isn't for everyone.
No,
well. Some people hate being touched. Like their body hates their body being touched.
It's and I would imagine like. For the coal miner, at least, not knowing the play, as somebody who embodies kind of an all-Australian masculine coal mining, it's very dangerous for him to come in, be vulnerable to another man, and have that man touch his body.
Yes, I'm not going to give anything away.
Yeah,
but
sure. No.
It's quite you have kind of you definitely hit the nail on the head with that because I think men of that stature or that kind of caricature, right, would expect a woman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really about more, empowering that sense of, maybe it is a man. There's nothing wrong with that. Because people got to do things to make ends meet. That's what I'm about. Like sacrifice is a very big theme in a lot of my stories and what people sacrifice in order to try and achieve things. Because I saw it with my own parents, man. Yeah. You see it, right? Like I can remember my mother, she won't mind me saying this, but like my mum was not around that much when I was growing up. Like I saw her all the time, but she was working very hard. And so was my dad. But I think I saw a lot more of my dad during school holidays and that sort of thing than my mother, which is obviously I'm fine. But, it's important to realize that's what migrant parents do.
That's true. And I think what our parents did better than what we're doing in a way is that they're happy to sacrifice a lot of their happiness.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of the happiness.
100%.
Like they will keep the money. They'll live in a shitty house for the next 15 years to get a bigger house for us later on. And I feel like we want things sort of now-ish, real fast, but they're willing to wait. Man, they'll like mum and dad. It's the same thing. Mum, I hardly saw mum and dad. My brother and I would go to school, walk home together.
But you didn't think about it, did you? I don't know. Like, because I don't know. Obviously, I don't want to paint the picture of my mum like she was a neglect. She definitely wasn't. But she was just because she was a university lecturer. So she was, and we lived very far from Sydney Uni. She was always working, and my dad was always working too. But it's the juggle. They were better at the juggle. That's what I think. Yeah.
What do you think, coming kind of into like a wider perspective?
Sure.
How does 1 Hour No Oil sit within current 2022 Sydney theatre?
Yeah, well, issues of racism and issues of like toxic masculinity are always going to be explored I think the way that you do them has to be really sophisticated, which is what we're trying to do. Because you don't want people to think, oh, it's another racist show. It's not another racist show. You know, you go to the theatre. I had a great Shaw Cameron, who plays Scott, said, this is a play that you go to and want questions, not answers. Good theatre has you asking questions, not walking away with the answer.
Yes.
Right? Because we all have to think as audience members. But I think that where it fits, like, it still has that element of comedy.
Oh, great.
It still has a bit of comedy. Yeah, it's still pretty funny. Like, you can't just do an hour show where it's just full on serious. You know, you got to have some laughs, and we've got plenty of laughs in there. So I think because Sydney Theatre is such a wide range of different shows, in terms of new work, this is one of just the many shows coming out from Asian storytelling, you know?
Correct.
Yeah, because I love Asian storytelling. Like, you know, we all got like Asian like uncles and stuff and mums and dads that like tell these really big stories, and that's where I got it from. Man, like my uncles just told me all these stories that were like really, really sad, but also really funny. And yeah.
Do you think that connection is lost nowadays between our parents and next generation? Because like what you said about like your parents told you stories.
Yeah,
like, that's a big thing. Like, for example, like nowadays we take photos, everything, pictures, everything, and like I have this argument with a lot of people all the time about like, hey, man, you don't have to take pictures of everything. Why don't we just
live in the moment?
Have a chat, right? And not record every single thing, because you need to remember certain things and pass it on. Like
we're taking a photo of us after this.
Yeah, please. Otherwise, I will not have any recollection of coming here.
No.
But like, you know,
I think you're right.
Because
I actually think you are, man. Like
because like if you speak to your mother or grandmother or whatever, they don't need a picture. They'll paint it for you in their voice when they talk to you. And then there's a few things happening. You're connecting your grandparents. You're learning their experiences. And also they're telling you a story. And that's, I feel like...
But is it factual? Did it happen?
Well,
at this time, at this location? We need to follow up.
But here's the thing. If it's wrong, what are you going to do? I'm going to ask my uncle.
Now you
got a connection. They can talk to your uncle about it, or your granddad about it. And then this whole thing happens, right?
I tell you what, it was... I have an example of that. I think you're right. Because I think the art of verbal storytelling is really important. Because oral storytelling is really important. My grandmother, when I was about 15, my grandmother was able to recount to me the invasion of her province by the Japanese in 1946, 47. And I was like, dude, this is hectic.
Yeah.
And she did paint the picture for me. And as heartbreaking as it was deeply empowering. But one thing I realized was that she never actually told that story to my cousins. So it was something that I set out to understand. So I think it's dependent on the person.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I think it is lost in some regards, but I think because when I actually told that story to some of my cousins, they couldn't believe it.
Wow.
They couldn't believe it. And I think there was a bit of, you know, some people found it a bit sad that like they never heard it from her. But I love stories, man. Like I think verbal storytelling I could listen to all day.
Because I guess with photos and stuff, the original person doesn't have to be there.
No.
You could have those photos totally distanced from that person, but the oral storytelling requires you to be there at that time. With that person.
Totally.
And it requires you to remember it.
That's the test.
Yeah,
That's good.
But remembering, and it's a human aspect. Like, make sure you remember things and memorize things at the time. These are the most great things and our memories are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and our ability to talk to people is going short, and to a point that everything in the federal government, for example, is all abbreviated. Everything we have is all abbreviated, like, you know,
or we've outsourced from our brain to like our cell phone or our laptop or the cloud or whatever, and we don't have to store this information.
It's pretty alarming. But I also think that there are the people out there like you, like me, that are really still keen to find out those stories and to hear about the stories. You know, I think that's really important.
Well, is that theatre's role there? You know, in a world of...
I'll tell you why I love theatre, and I'll tell you what I think the role is. The role of the theatre is to get people to get there. The greatest thing about theatre is that you can say you were there. You can say you were there, and you can, like, you know, Neil will remember the way he felt at the marriage agency. And I love the way that theatre literally pulls us from our couches. This is a really comfortable couch, by the way. But theatre, yeah, it's good. Is it yours? No. Theatre will pull us from our couches to the theatre. Like, we have to be there. Yeah.
And that's still different from cinema, where you can sit amongst how many people and just have no real kind of connection with them, and the exact same experience that you would have if you came at 7:30 or 9:30. You know? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Wonderful. So to wrap up, 1 Hour No Oil. When is it on?
It's on previews from the 26th of October. And it runs until the 5th of November. So strictly 2-week limited season at the Old KXT venue.
Old KXT?
So it's the King's Cross Theatre.
Whoa.
This is the conversation that we had like 2 weeks
so
back.
I can give you an update. Because I did hear that and I'm like, okay, I got to sort this out. So the new venue is just being rebuilt. It's being built at the moment on Broadway. So they haven't moved yet. So the theatre is still at King's Cross.
Because I kept on hearing for another production, this is the last show that KXT is going to do here.
Things take time.
Yeah.
So I think, Yeah,
fair enough. They're building a fucking new theatre. Go for it.
They're rigging stuff and, you know, it takes ages.
Yeah. Okay, great.
So just real quick, there are 2 stages in King's Cross Theatre, isn't there? Upstairs.
Not anymore.
No. Like previously there was the main stage and then there was the bordello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so they don't use the bordello anymore, but they do use the main space.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
So, that's the main playing space.
Just real quick while we're wrapping up,
Please.
And I like to tell people, ask this question, which is basically just some tips out there, all the kids out there, people out there who are trying to. You gotta like give people some sort of avenue or some sort of not shortcuts, but you know,
if they want to be a playwright,
or
just a writer,
or
producing.
Just a writer.
All the names that I mentioned today, and I mentioned a few names.
Oh yeah.
If no one knows who they are, Google them. It's really, knowledge is power, and I really believe in looking up and knowing who's making work and who this person is and what this person's doing and what that director is really important. I think you should walk away from a production knowing who directed it, knowing who wrote it, knowing who lit it. Yeah, I think that stuff's just really important. It doesn't take long. It's just a bit of effort.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. And I also think that if you can find the energy to create your own stuff, 100%, that's it. That's what you should be doing, is find your energy to really create your own stuff as well. And find people that really vibe off you and they're like, that's a great idea. Yeah. And then you can, fail later.
Yeah, that's great.
What's important is you're doing it. You did it. That's the most important thing. You know?
Yeah.
That
Wonderful.
That seems to be the thing, just doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's easier for some people,
yeah,
right? And it's harder for a lot. But I think that making sure persistence is key, right? Like emailing people, the worst thing they can say is no.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Well, yeah, that's the sort of the approach I took with Chookas.
Yeah.
The worst thing that people say is no.
And then you had people emailing you to get on the show.
Yeah.
Which was me, full disclosure. I emailed to get on this show because we need the publicity for 1 Hour No Oil. Just be honest, man. Yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, we absolutely wish you Chookas for 1 Hour No Oil.
Oh, that's the name of the podcast.
It is, isn't it? Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah, that's clever.
Yeah,
that's clever.
No, it's funny.
Okay.
But thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us.
No, that's all right. You guys, this is great. Keep going.
Thank you.
That sounds weird to say keep going because but you guys, do it. And you know what? Interview some bigwigs.
Well,
you're a big wig.
No, God, no.
Hold on a second.
Hugo Weaving. Get Hugo Weaving.
We're trying to get someone else on, but we want disclosure at the moment.
Okay, we can talk about that later. But maybe I can help you.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because for
now you know what I'm saying. They should be on this for themselves, not you guys.
I think it's
fantastic.
from a Chookas point of view. I think we should see everyone as equal.
Oh, that's humanistic. I like that.
Well, it's just everybody has valuable stories, ideas, information, experiences that everybody can benefit from.
Yeah, I will say this. Like, I love Luke Holmes's episode is amazing. Because I've known him for like 7 years, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 7, 8 years. He did the first play I ever wrote.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, for Brave New Word.
No, it was with this random company called Smoking Gum Theatre. Okay. Man, I'll never forget Luke. And, but I loved hearing his passion on that, and I was like, dude, this is someone that's willing to make it work.
Yeah,
and I love that. I thought this is great. This is what it's about.
Yeah, when he was talking, that the vibe that he had, I was like, that's what I want. That's it. That's what we need.
Yeah.
And
we do need it. He's got a lot of it.
Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, whatever we beg, steal, borrow, whatever
he's
we're going
trying.
to do.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. But like, even if you're a professional, I mean, we're all professionals, whatever. But like even if you finish a job, you still got to find another job.
Yeah.
Does it stop? No.
No.
So it doesn't matter if you're getting paid $10,000 or you're paying $2 or nothing.
No.
Like, you're still working towards a goal.
Yeah.
And that's why we're all equal.
I believe professionalism is only determined by like the ability in which you carry yourself. Turning up on time, turning off the call time, handing in that script on that deadline, making sure your cast are safe.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing for me.
Yeah.
It's, you have to show professionalism. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's good. It's good podcast today.
Yeah.
Very happy.
Yeah, let's just pat each other on our back.
You guys are great. I love this, man.
Well, thank you so much, Jordan.
No, my pleasure.
We'll see you on opening night.
Yeah, see you on opening. I've got to get those tickets for you. Hey.
Yeah.
We'll put out the info on the Instagram handles and Instagram and everything. So,
yeah, great.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.